What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Major Ben Tech video here today on the channel. I do hope you guys are having an awesome day as always. Now we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch here today. I've been back playing my Switch a little bit more recently. I've been really enjoying playing it. The OLED is just gorgeous, and even coming from a Steam Deck to playing on a Switch, like the OLED just wow, man. I wish the Switch had the power of the Steam Deck, and then that device would be the perfect system. I hope Switch Pro comes sooner down the line, because damn, that thing is going to be freaking awesome. But I do want to talk about a slight concern, because I've been going on my Switch after probably nearly 6 months or maybe 4 months of not using it. And I've been looking on the Switch store and stuff, and I'm seeing the amount of games that are put on this store. There are hundreds of thousands of games, and some of them extremely big titles that aren't just native to Switch, but are obviously games like Dying Light. I've seen a lot more games be ported, games that we have on our PCs and PlayStations and Xboxes, etc., and they're coming to Switch, which is great news. That's fantastic. But my kind of thing is here, well, let's say, okay, they do a Switch Pro and it runs with the exact same architecture, so all these games are transferable to that new device. Whatever did Nintendo do next, which they seem to change. I mean, we've gone from Nintendo 64 to like having stuff like the Wii, where you've then got motion controls, and the Wii U, which went back to kind of a gamepad with a second screen, and that finally transitioned to the Switch, which was kind of the final form of the Wii U. Like, with Nintendo, you never know what you're going to see next. Are we going to have two separate systems again, a portable and a home one? Probably not. I think this whole form factor has been amazing, but we don't know what we're going to see next. And we don't know that the architecture, because of how bad some of the architecture is in the Switch compared to how easy it is in some of the consoles like PlayStation and Xbox to transition stuff over, we may lose our whole game libraries, or not lose, but these game libraries that we're building up drastically on our Switches now may be tied to that single device forever. And recently, with the whole news of the 3DS eShop and stuff closing down, meaning you could never buy any further games on that device, like, is this going to be a similar thing with the Switch? And I know this is a very talked about topic with, game preservation and stuff. We actually talked about Sony's game preservation. They've actually employed someone to look after Sony's game preservation a little bit more on their side, which is fantastic news for Sony. That's great. Xbox has done a pretty good job with back compat and stuff, but again, stuff is still tied to the internet for you to play a lot of these games, which is a shame. But what I see from Nintendo systems is they used to be very good with their backwards compatibility. You used to be able to play, for example, you used to be able to play Game Boy games on your Nintendo DS. You could play DS games on your 3DS. There was always a level to it there. And I know a lot of those systems are obsolete now. You can't play DS games on the Switch, obviously, and you can't do anything along those lines. So are we with the Nintendo system? Let's say I bought The Witcher 3. I don't think it's going to be a case of me just being able to upgrade The Witcher 3 in the new system like we have with Xbox. Obviously, you've got the disc for the Xbox One. You play Witcher 3, you put it in the Series X, you get 60 frames, you get much better graphics, you get better resolution, etc. It's an upgraded process, not to mention just being able to own that game for a very long time. I can't see that changing with the Xbox. Same with PCs. You've got Steam. You can just constantly buy new hardware, and you can carry on playing those games that you've bought before. Whereas if a second-gen Switch comes out, and it's a completely different architecture and nothing is supported from the previous gen, which I think is a serious concern, we're going to have to rebuy all these games. They're essentially porting all these games to a system for it to be obsolete in another couple of years' time. And I think that that's just a really big issue for Nintendo. And I love Nintendo, and I always buy one of their products and use their products because I love the games. I love their exclusive games. I love the way they have things like the Switch where you can take things on the go, dock it very easily, carry on. And I plan on, always using my Switch for that reason. I buy my big games like Red Dead 2 that isn't on the Switch, and all those kind of huge games that I want to play on a big TV, I play that on my big TV. And then if I want to take a game on the go that I don't mind sacrificing because it's one that I don't want to play during my main kind of gaming session, so I don't know, Force Unleashed, for example, is a Star Wars game that was launched on the Switch recently again, I would buy that on the Switch because I know that I can carry that wherever I go, play it on a big TV very quickly if I wanted to, and it's just great. It works so seamlessly. But that is an issue I think that we do face, and I think it's a major concern for whatever next gen Switch there's going to be. And actually, there's been an article recently where it's talking about it's been 5 years since the release of Nintendo Switch, and essentially the basically Furukawa has come out and said that they've now got 100 million plus Switch users, and that they are talking about a next gen Switch, and they're saying it's a major concern, the hardware platform for the company, and they are interested in wanting to make the transition to a potential new console as smooth as possible. He said, to help alleviate the risk, we're focusing on building long-term relationships with our customers, Furukawa said during the meeting, according to VGC's translation. While we will continue launching new software on the Nintendo Switch, we will also provide services that also use Nintendo accounts and other IPs outside of the gaming software. So they're talking about like other things other than the games here, but he has mentioned that it is a concern, the hardware changes, the amount of money people have invested on this Switch hardware. I just desperately hope that they seriously are not going to abandon all these games that they brought to this eShop on the Switch, and that in a couple of years' time, when there is I don't think this is going to happen for a while. I think we're going to have a Switch Pro or a Switch 2. I really do. But I think once that hardware changes like it has done before, from like all the other systems, like the Wii is none of those Wii games are supported in future devices. They're just never going to be. The Wii U, the same thing there. Obviously they re-bring the game out on the next bit of hardware and you have to re-buy it, which is one of the big problems with consoles. Less so with the next gen consoles though. They are sort of lowering the prices if you do have to re-buy it, and sometimes specifically on Xbox you never have to re-buy it. You just put the disc in and it's upgraded automatically. But that never seems to happen with Nintendo, and I think that is a concern. So I think it's something to look out for. Fingers crossed we can hopefully avoid that issue in the future, but you never know. It's Nintendo. They do some odd stuff, and as I said earlier, if they do change their entire hardware, if there is no kind of switching between TV and thing, and they do a separate game handheld console and a thing again, because we never know, they may go back to motion controls, make a stupid mistake like that again. Who knows what they'll do? They are very, very on edge, this company, with stuff like this. They do really well sometimes. Like the Wii ridiculously sold well, wasn't the best system in the world, and then obviously Wii U was terrible and Switch was phenomenal. It's the best selling system, outsold the PS4 already, I believe, as of recently actually. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but I just wanted to talk about that. Let me know if you guys are concerned about your libraries not being transferred to future iterations of the Switch. I do think it's a concern, and I think it would be interesting to hear from you guys what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you in future videos. Bye-bye for now.